So here's a question we've been thinking about. Public administration. Is it fundamentally, a rigid science, relying purely on data, on principles?
Or is it maybe more like a creative art? Something demanding intuition and adaptability?
Exactly. That's the core debate we want to explore in this deep dive. We've gone through some really interesting source material that looks at both sides.
Right. And the goal isn't just to lay out those two views, but to see how they kind of, well, mesh together in the real world of public service.
Okay, so let's start with the science argument. What did the sources really highlight there?
Well, the big thing that jumped out was the focus on data-driven methods. It's pretty central.
Right. Things like rigorous budget analysis, making sure money goes where it should.
Precisely. And also policy evaluation using hard data, actual numbers, to see if programs are, achieving what they set out to achieve. Are they getting measurable results?
It's all about that evidence base, that systematic approach, trying to make things efficient, predictable.
Yeah, and tied into that is the reliance on structured principles,
Yeah.
established best practices.
So there's this body of knowledge suggesting certain logical ways of doing things tend to work better.
Exactly. Think about standardized procedures for things like issuing permits or delivering basic services. The idea is consistency, replicability.
But I guess the question then becomes, does focusing too much on just the data and the fixed procedures, does that create problems?
That's another good point. Could that purely scientific approach sometimes maybe lack flexibility when something unexpected crops up?
Which, well, perfectly tees up the other side of the coin, doesn't it? The art perspective.
Ah, yes. And our sources definitely give this weight too.
This is where things like leadership and intuition become really vital. You can have all the spreadsheets in the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes you need that gut feeling, that ability to connect with people, to inspire action, especially when things get complicated.
Absolutely. And adaptability is huge here. Public administrators deal with, well, people. And people are unpredictable. Situations change fast.
Our sources pointed to crisis management as a key example, didn't they?
Yeah, exactly. When a crisis hits a natural disaster, a public health emergency, you can't just pull out a manual.
You need creative thinking, quick decisions, thinking on your feet.
Right. And public diplomacy is another example. Navigating those tricky international situations requires so much nuance, so much understanding of human dynamics, not just rules.
But then, thinking about that side, if you lean too heavily on just intuition, just the art, could that also be a problem? Like leading to inconsistency or maybe even bias?
That's the risk, yeah. Without some grounding in data and principles, decisions might become less predictable, less fair, perhaps.
So it really feels like we're landing on this idea that it's not an either situation. It's not science versus art.
No, not at all. The sources really push towards a synthesis, a blend.
Public administration, at its best, seems to be this combination.
Precisely. Effective governance really needs that integration. You need the logic, the structure, the evidence, the science part.
For accountability, for efficiency.
Right. But you also absolutely need the creativity, the empathy, the adaptability, the art part to handle the messy human side of things and those unexpected events.
It's that mix that allows administrators to actually solve complex problems effectively.
That interplay is key.
So for you listening, this isn't just theoretical. Think about how this balance works or maybe doesn't work in organizations or even in how public services affect you.
Yeah, where do you see that reliance on process? And where does the need for human judgment and adaptability take over?
And maybe that leads to a final thought for everyone to ponder.
Thinking about all the challenges today, technology changing everything, new societal demands, global issues. Where do you see this balance between the science and the art of public administration shifting in the years ahead? Is one becoming more important than the other?
And maybe more importantly, what are the implications of that shift for how we're all governed? Something to think about.